What is going on, everybody? AHS Rules back again with another video. We're here for another weekly ROH TV review. Now, if you're here strictly to hear what happened on this week's episode of ROH TV, I'll put the time in the description because there's a lot of other things that I need to discuss, all in regards to Ring of Honor. So, yes, we had some news happen, important news happen prior to this episode of Ring of Honor. And I'll talk about that news, and then I'll talk about the other things I want to discuss, and then I'll review this episode. So, the breaking news that happened is that Mark Briscoe will no longer be competing in the world title match at next week's Death Before Dishonor pay-per-view, per Tony Khan via a tweet at 6:56 p.m. Due to an injury reported this week, Mark Briscoe cannot be cleared to wrestle at ROH hashtag Death Before Dishonor next Friday, 7/21, July 21st. We all wish at Sussex County Chicken the very best in his recovery. ROH World Champion at Claudio CSRO is on training sabbatical to prepare for the huge week ahead with hashtag Blood and Guts on Wednesday at hashtag AEW Dynamite, plus his championship defense at Death Before Dishonor PPV pay-per-view next Friday. We will address Claudio's PPV title challenger next week following the highly anticipated Blood and Guts event on TBS. Again, everyone at oh, Jesus Christ. I just realized it's at and then the at Twitter. At AEW plus at Ring of Honor is wishing Mark Briscoe the very best in his injury recovery. Thank you all. So, obviously, wish Mark Briscoe the very best. So, we don't know who the hell is challenging for the world title in the next week's pay-per-view. The thing that I feel kind of gets underlined, and we won't know until Thursday, next Thursday, maybe even next Friday, because we will address Claudio's PPV title challenger next week following the highly anticipated Blood and Guts event on TBS. So, we won't know who's challenging for the world title till next Thursday, because I imagine there's a slight chance that it gets announced like prior. I would imagine the smart thing would be to announce it. If you know who's challenging for it, which maybe that's the case, they don't know who the hell they want to have in the world title match. But if you know who it is, I would announce it ASAP. But if not, then it's going to be like Thursday or Friday, literally the day before the pay-per-view event. Now, speaking of this pay-per-view, there are 0 matches announced. Last week we had one match announced, and I did complain about it. And I was like, I hate it because I didn't hate. It's a strong word. I didn't like it because Mark Briscoe has constantly been talking about, I want to challenge for the TV title. I want to win the TV title. I want to be the TV champion. And just out of nowhere, yeah, I'm going to challenge for a world title. I didn't like that. It didn't really make much sense to me. Where now, we don't know who Claudio's facing, and we slightly know who Samoa Joe's facing because they started a TV title tournament. I'll talk about that during the TV show. But other than that, there's nothing announced to this pay-per-view. And I'm looking at last year's card, and this is kind of this. I said there's other thing I want to discuss. Last year's card, and I'm looking at the poster. The poster of the event had the 5 big title matches on the poster, where this year is just the champions. So the main thing I was trying to get is like last year, it was a lot of the stuff wasn't announced well in advance. It was very well built. Where now nothing is announced and very little is built. So like maybe they can scramble together some things, and then I could take that second opinion away. But the other thing is like they haven't announced anything. Like Claudio is facing vacant right now. So this is the other thing that I want to discuss, because I've seen this tweet and just opinion shared on Twitter several times, and I kind of bring it up every once in a while. But there are a lot of people on Twitter that is like, ROH is AEW Dark, or even AEW Dark Elevation. And I'm not going to disagree with them. The main thing that I say, and I say this every week, or majority of weeks, is my favorite matches that happen on ROH every week are the matches that are 50-50. I have no clue who's going to win. And I would say each week, half of the matches like that, the other half are squash matches. And I would imagine that to the average casual viewer, that's what they see. They just see, oh my God, I don't care about this. And that's fine. That's fair. That's understandable. But I won't lie. I can understand, and I somewhat agree with the Dark Elevation comment. But when I watched Dark Elevation and Dark in the past, they were mainly squash matches. That's why I did not feel like I have to watch this every week. Because, again, it's just going to mainly be squash matches. I don't really want to see that. Where with ROH, it's like half squash matches, half decent 50-50, you don't know who they're going to win matches. So, that being the case, tonight's episode doesn't really help because, like, again, I'll say this. Tonight's episode, there was 8 matches. It was a shorter episode. 3 of the matches was the 50-50 booking. The other ones were squash matches. So it does not really help my case. But I just seen it a lot on Twitter, and I can understand it. So it is what it is. So that being said, Death Before Dishonor is literally next Friday. I anticipate next week's TV review, I'll have my predictions in it. There might not be anything else. So that kind of sucks. I can't do that then. So we'll see what happens when it happens. So now we're going to get on to the review. We're 6 minutes in, so I'm going to write this time down. That way I don't forget it. But anyways, this is episode 20. Here we go. The first matchup was Big Bill versus Sir Pentico. Most of this match consists of Sir Pentico running away from Big Bill, which did include him getting out of a Big Bill chokeslam, but he still got hit with a Big Bill chokeslam. That finished the match, and Big Bill won. Also, again, this is going to be a slight... Last week, and ever since Big Bill has been in Ring of Honor, he's teamed with Lee Moriarty. And even last week, they mentioned, we want the tag team titles. I have no clue where Lee Moriarty was this week. No mention of the tag team title. It's just a very weird, one-off, like, just weird thing, in my opinion. Because, like I said, ever since we've seen Big Bill in ROH, he's either been managing Lee Moriarty or he's been teaming with him. So, that was not the case this week. Next, we get Athena versus Ava Lawless. Ava Lawless doesn't let Athena get to her early, but then she taunts and Athena hits her with a massive forearm, and then Athena dominates her, winning the match via crossface. Next, we have The Righteous and Stu Grayson versus Levi Knight, Michael Allen Richard Clark, yes, that is his full name, and Evan Rivers. Stu and Evan start the match with Stu bum rushing him, leading to a one-sided match for the trio of Stu Grayson and The Righteous, who win the matchup. Of note, Evil Uno did come out during this match and sit in a chair and watch the match happen, and then after the match, he hit Levi Knight with that chair. Next, Layla Hirsch versus Bambi Hall. It was a back-and-forth match due to Hirsch selling her injury that she was just coming off of, but it did not stop her from winning, as she won with an armbar. Next, now, this is the meat and the potatoes, the good stuff. So, as I mentioned, we have this is very much a miniature TV title eliminator tournament. There will be 3 matches. If you look at the thumbnail, because this is what I'm using for the thumbnail, that's the bracket. So we have Tony Nese versus Dalton Castle and Shane Taylor versus Sean Dean. The first of those matchups was Tony Nese versus Dalton Castle. Nese comes out and he does his shtick where he wants to exercise and not wrestle. But that does not happen. They wrestle. Castle outpowers Nese in the early portion of the bout until Smart Mark Sterling causes a distraction on Dalton Castle, leading to Nese slowing the match down. Once Castle starts to gain momentum, Sterling tries to have another distraction, but the boys take care of him on the outside, leading to Castle winning the match with a bangarang and moving on to the tournament finals. I was going to say moving on in the tournament, which I guess that does make sense as well. The finals are supposed to be next Thursday, so again, going into Death Before Dishonor, we should know the TV title match. Next, in the continuation of the TV title tournament, Shane Taylor versus the captain, Sean Dean. Another thing that I'm not a fan of, because like I said, with Big Bill, he's been teaming with Lee Moriarty. Sean Dean has been teaming with Carly Bravo each week. And they had this like mini feud with the Kingdom where they wanted to get revenge on the Kingdom. They just lost to the Kingdom last week. Why is he in this TV title tournament? Especially because, like I said, he's been in a tag team. Like, it was just out of nowhere. So, it is what it is. We get a stiff Taylor forearm, leads to Sean Dean being slowed down a bit, and he can never really recover from this matchup, as Shane Taylor has lots of punches and knees to the gut, and it does not help when he tries to get a frog splash on Shane Taylor, but Shane Taylor gets his knees up, and he wins the matchup with a massive elbow, meaning next week we will see Shane Taylor versus Dalton Castle, with the winner moving on to Death Before Dishonor to face Samoa Joe for the TV title. Next, we have the Boys versus the Kingdom. Taven and Brent start the match off, but soon they both tag out with the Kingdom, having the advantage. The Boys get a small chance once Taven tries to pin Brandon, who was not the legal man and who got hit with the finisher, but Brent cannot overcome what the Kingdom was doing as they win the matchup. Now we have the main event, and there is at least a build to this matchup somewhat. For the 6-man tag team titles, it is the Embassy versus Matt Sydal, Christopher Daniels, and Darius Martin. Now, again, this is the last time I want to complain. And I don't like complaining everything. I like being positive each week. Darius Martin has been in a tag team with Action Andretti since his brother has been injured, and they occasionally are in a trio with AR Fox. This is the thing that I don't like about the ROH trios division, where AEW, they're like better because the AEW like trios division, it's mainly factions. It's like actual factions. House of Black, Elite, Death Triangle, who's the Acclaimed and Daddy Ass. Like, they're groups. Where in ROH, it's very much the Embassy versus 3 random people. Sometimes they team, sometimes they don't. And like occasionally, like with AR Fox, Darius Martin, and Action Andretti, they like team 1 week and then they get the title match. And the main reason I am complaining is in this case, it makes it harder because there's the Embassy versus 3 men who don't have a trio's name. And then I gotta say they're like full names, but that's a small complaint. But the other one is just like Darius Martin, like I said, he's been teaming with Action Andretti, and they also have a trio with AR Fox. And that's just swept under the rug, as now there's him with Matt Sydal and Christopher Daniels. Which, again, I think would have made more sense if they found somebody else other than Darius Martin. But Sydal needed to find 2 partners, as at the very, very, very beginning of this episode, he was going to cut a promo, but he was interrupted by Prince Nana and Brian Cage, mainly upset due to losing to them on last week's Rampage in the Blind Eliminator Tag Team Tournament. And he said that he could beat Brian Cage one-on-one, which I made note of that because this ended up being a 6-man tag team title match. So he needed to find 2 partners, which one was his former tag team champion partner and the person he's been teaming on and off with in Ring of Honor, Christopher Daniels, and Darius Martin, which he did, to be fair, say they had a good tag team or tag run in AEW, so at least it makes sense for him being involved. So this is our main event, 6-man tag team title match. The Embassy versus Matt Sydal, Christopher Daniels, and Darius Martin. Daniels and Khan start the match off. The beginning sees frequent tags from Daniels, Sydal, and Martin as they try to work over Khan in their corner, but this does not help once Khan tags out and the Embassy corner Daniels. Daniels eventually gets the tag into Martin, who is able to take out the Gates of Agony, but he could not handle Brian Cage. But Matt Sydal could, as once he tagged in, and again they tried to do trio stuff to him, but it does not work. And the Embassy win once Cage hits the drill claw on Matt Sydal. It was very, again, back and forth matchup. Either side could have won, but the Embassy retained. So, like I said, this episode of ROH kinda, like, I was trying to help ROH, as everybody's like, this is just AEW Dark. And I'm like, I'm trying to be the one to defend it. Like, no, it isn't. This episode definitely felt like that. But, as I say each week, how I kind of feel about these episodes. Half of it is squash matches. Half of it is very good back and forth action where you don't know who's going to win. Which, those are ones that I like. Also, the show is taped like a week in advance, so what is the point I'm trying to... Like, it's taped a week in advance, so, like, I already know who wins the matches. I guess that's kind of, like, not helping my point, but you get it anyways. So, like I said, this is a longer review for a very short or shorter episode of ROH, but I had a lot of things I wanted to talk about. Hopefully, Death Before Dishonor... Like, the main thing is, I want the card announced. I want to know, yes, this is going to be very good. Where right now, I have absolutely no clue what we're going to see at Death Before Dishonor. And again, I want to know, that way I could talk about it, because I like talking about ROH. So, I like to talk about other things. I have other videos. I haven't made a video in a week. I've just felt like crap. And I was like, I always make my ROH 2 reviews on Friday. So, here it is today. Hopefully, I'll see you again. When? Where? I don't know. We'll see. Thank you for watching this video. Please like and subscribe. Stay safe. It's hot as hell right now. So, I'm going to try to stop sweating. And I'll see you in the next video.